to this week's Hearthstone Global Games Community Show, where we're going to give you a summary of last week's gamings, including a top 5 clips. We're going to do an interview with...
Hi folks, sorry I'm late. What are you doing here?
I'm doing the community show, it's my week.
You're absolutely not. If you remember, week 1 was the last time I did it. I think it's my turn.
I'm pretty sure it's my go, but come on, Fab, whose turn is it?
Well, I think there's only one way we can settle this.
You gonna keep score or what then, Fab?
Norway? We can't break the tie.
It's too close, Fab. Who's the winner?
Welcome to the Hearthstone Global Games Community Show. And Lorinda, I think it's only fair I let you know right now, I did check the schedule. It was supposed to be you on the show the whole time.
So, we did all that for nothing.
Oh, not for nothing.
What?
We have got all sorts planned for you today on the show. We're going to start off with a recap from last week. Then we're going to... Are we going to get the production team? Hello? Can we get the lower third so I can... Here it comes. All right. We're going to go for a summary of last week. Then we're going to look at the top 5 clips from last week. Then I had an interview with A83650 to see what he thinks about Team Poland. Then we're going to talk about next week's Hearthstone Global Games with the schedule, etc. Then a little analysis that I know you've been preparing and tearing out your hair with all day today. And finally, we're going to have a Q&A with the viewers as usual. Exciting show.
Yeah, and if you want to do that Q&A with the viewers, I think you have to tweet at Gaskin. He will be in the chat along with Darek, causing trouble and taking your questions, just like I did last week. Yeah. So ask him anything. I'm sure he'll fire most of them at us.
Yeah, and like last week, you'll be credited if your question makes it onto the show. So that's awesome. First up, let's take a look at the standings now that week 4 of the Hearthstone Global Games is over and done with. 3 teams leading the charge there at 4-0. Ukraine, Brazil, China looking very solid.
Yeah, and in there behind is a cluster of very good teams. South Korea, Singapore, Spain, Taiwan, Netherlands, Czech Republic, the reigning champions, of course. Canada have made a bit of a comeback too, as well as several that I missed out there just to speed things up a little. It's a really close contest to get to those 4 wins they need.
You know, whenever I look at this graphic, my eyes just get drawn to the top few spots. Like how many of the teams are actually just there in the lead. And after this week, depending on who wins which games, Ukraine are actually against Taiwan, so it's not going to be quite an even split like that. But then Brazil against China, potentially we may have 2 5-0 teams as we go into next week. Yeah,
that would be absolutely nuts. So it's not nuts, that's how Swiss works, but it's going to be nuts who they are, especially if it's Brazil.
There you go. There are all of the standings. 4-0s, the 3-1s, lots of 2-2s. They're all going to be fighting for their lives this week in HGG.
Yeah, and unfortunately we did get rid of several other teams last week, along with Finland, France, Greece, and several others, as you can see there. But those 2-2s, they're all on the brink. If they lose one more time, they'll be joining this lot.
Goodbye, France, Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, Kazakhstan, Australia, Israel, Finland, and Greece. Some powerful teams were knocked out this week.
Yeah, it's, I mean, we've said it all along. It's such a powerful lineup across the whole Hearthstone Global Games this year because of the way that the players were picked this time around, that it was always going to happen. But I don't think we necessarily realised the extent of the good teams we're going to lose so early.
Yeah, I mean, again, we highlighted it last week, but France, as an example, one of the most powerful teams coming in. They needed more points to qualify for HGG than they needed to qualify for playoffs. They were saying, you know, why did none of the casters pick us? They've all made a mistake. They got knocked out, and I'm sorry, but I kind of do feel the urge to rub it in a little bit.
Yeah, they've won 2 tour stops this year. They're probably fine, and I think they're going to make a big push for Season 3 in particular. I know they weren't particularly happy as a nation with how few players they got in playoffs this time. I think it's still like 6 or something.
Now, as usual, we have our top 5 favourite clips from last week's Hearthstone Global Games, and I'm looking forward to showing you those. So hopefully we'll get this started right now.
5 clips, starting off with number 5. This is how this sort of thing works.
Is it? Oh.
It usually is. This is just a bait from Real here. Went all in, making 4 minions just to see if the opponents had the MC tech. They did, and of course, he's got his own. So he ends up with a much better board state because of this play. And because he has trading power as well, just manages to get so much advantage out of this. And they went on, they actually lost the game, but they went on to get a massive board state that nearly got them over the finishing line without even drawing their Shadow Walk in this mirror.
Yeah, this was that game that Derek and I were going on and on about, if I remember rightly, saying that China have everything, sorry, Taiwan have everything they could possibly want. They have the bigger minions, they have the bigger Keleseth, they've drawn more of the combo pieces, etc., but they were never able to draw Shadow Walk. And unfortunately, it's kind of important for a Shadow Walk Shaman to draw Shadow Walk.
It really is, but that play did give Taiwan a fighting chance in that game.
It did indeed. Let's look at number 4 and see what's coming next. Lorinda, do you remember this one?
Yeah, this was actually a misplay that was talked about in the interview afterwards. Basically, you've got a chance to kill off either the Scalehide or the Giggling Inventor. Now, which one would you kill, Dan? Do you want to save the health? Do you want to get over the finish line with this massive board?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Lorinda. I can see the Sonya and the Panda in hand. I've just got this feeling that if the Giggling Inventor survives, this could get out of control. Yeah,
it didn't go well. It didn't quite make the point because they ended up winning the game. But you'll see in a moment just how out of control Giggling Inventor is in
going
Quest
into
Rogue.
Overdrive here.
Yeah, turboed it up a little bit so you don't have to sit through the rope, and just keep an eye on how many Annoyatrons turn up over the next few turns. It just goes completely silly.
There's 2 more, and there's still a Panda in the hand, so I'm guessing there's going to be another 2 more very soon. I mean, that's what Quest Rogues do, and it's one of the reasons that the Giggling Inventor is just one of the best cards in the deck. It's sort of single-handedly revitalized Quest Rogue again.
Yeah, and Quest Rogue, the Druid can do 30 damage pretty rapidly anyway, so killing off the Scalehide was... made it a lot harder for them. Made it no harder for them. Made no difference. They should have just killed the Inventor, and then this wouldn't have ever happened.
This is just silly. I mean, with Sonya and all of those Annoyatrons on the board, there was just no way of getting through everything. Right. The only removal that the Druid had from hand was Ultimate Infestation. That's the only way to get past the taunts. So I guess they have to use that on Sonya, and other ways they're just giving the Annoyatrons back. Quest Rogue is insane.
It really is pretty good, isn't it?
Let's look at clip number 3. And this one is the little non-Hellfire play.
Yeah, so no Hellfire played on this turn. If you just see there, they play this Mountain Giant instead of a Hellfire, despite the fact they've got Defile double Hellfire in hand. They realised they needed a way to fight back on board, because if you Hellfire, your opponents just get the tempo back by playing Hero Power, whatever else is going on, probably the Corridor Creeper. It would have got really nasty for them. But by holding onto the Hellfire, by developing an attacking force of their own, they were then able to clear the board turn after turn and just get it done with the Giant.
Yeah, it feels very much as though Hellfire on turn 4 is the obvious play there, but as you said, like setting up this Giant to be able to start hitting the face over and over again. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I prefer winning my games than just clearing the board over and over.
I like clearing boards.
Do you not like winning games?
I don't know, I've never tried.
Fair enough. Let's take a look at clip number 2. And this is one of your favourite clips of the week.
This was my favourite clip of the week, personally. Sweden had just tried so hard to hang in there. They looked like they were dead. Look at this board. They are going to die. There was a chance to Volcano there to clear everything up, but it wasn't going to get enough done. And so they end up having to fast. This is after several other plays which have kept them some draws to even stay alive this far. And again, the excitement doesn't quite convey in the clip, but this was absolutely nuts. And this was a do-or-die match, which Sweden ended up just hanging in there to take.
Yeah, Boston is so straight-faced there. Doesn't even react to his Healing Rain.
Yeah, I mean, there's still more work to do, but obviously you can see the board state there. It made a massive difference. And they ended up getting control of the game.
Did they win?
They won the match, that's for sure.
Okay, well, that's the most important thing. All right, now, Lorinda, before we show clip number 1, I've been a little bit biased here. It is my game of the week. It's the Netherlands versus Italy. It was both of my picks. But this play that Italy tried to set up, as we take a look at clip number 1, is just so cool from where I'm sitting. They discovered a big 12-10 stealthed Bittertide Hydra, just played it out. And the idea is next turn, they're going to cube it. Then the turn after, they're going to play this Tundra Rhino that they've now discovered. and then they're going to play dead on the cube, meaning that the 12-10 beasts have charge and just hit the face for lethal.
That is a cool way to win a game of Hearthstone.
It is a very cool way to win a game of Hearthstone. And the beauty of it is, if Tyler breaks the cube, they're stealthed anyway. He can't interact with them, so he's got no reason to. It's a guaranteed 2-turn setup. But, slight problem with that.
What's the problem?
The problem is Tyler being Quest Rogue, and well, you'll see it anyway. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. This clip's
I'm seeing a lot of Quest Rogue this week, or in last week's highlights at least.
Yeah, well, Quest Rogue has come back in a big way. I don't want to give the game away just yet.
You've given the game away already, Dan.
I know. The clip is longer than I was expecting it to be, but here you go. This is the play we were talking about. Now he plays the cube on the 12-10 after dealing the damage, and then next turn it's Rhino. Play dead. They have charge. The Giggling Inventor is protecting Italy. There's no way Tyler gets lethal this turn.
And Turner agrees with you 100%.
Oh.
Except.
That's lethal.
Yeah, always awkward when that happens.
And as you can see, Turner, looks like it's just Turner's eyes now. He certainly wasn't expecting this. And when you see this deckhand come down and then the Shadow Step, in fact, we're not even going to look at the board. We can see what's going to happen. We're going to look at Turner right now.
I don't think he was impressed. It's like your family home, Dan.
It was even I moved the camera there. Very Italian reaction.
Yeah, very much so.
Fair to say. And unfortunately for Turner and Team Italy, Netherlands did end up taking the whole series. Tyler.
Remember, Tyler can't see Turner. He's just having that reaction in spite of what's going on the other side, which is what makes me chuckle a little bit, I must admit.
Yeah, so that is my favourite clip of the week. I love Turner. I think he's a fantastic player. And sometimes seeing players get angry in Hearthstone is one of the most exciting things.
Yeah, it can be. A little bit of emotion. It's good to see. We have had criticisms before that everything's a little bit sort of stony-faced, but I think the last few months, not just global games, that's changing slowly but surely. We're getting people sort of getting a bit snipey in interviews at the interviewers as well.
You know
it's all
what?
Good stuff.
Hearthstone players showing a bit of confidence, showing a bit of character, showing a bit of gusto. I like to see it, personally. Next up, this morning, I sat down with A83650 on Team Poland, the star of Team Poland, as he's recently qualified for the Hearthstone World Championships. And I had a chat with him about the Hearthstone Global Games and about the Boomsday, and I wanted to see what he had to say. Hi, A8. Welcome to the studio. Thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Hello, everyone.
So, obviously, we want to have you here talking about the Hearthstone Global Games. You're sort of the star of Team Poland. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I think we can say it like that, because I'm the most popular person in my team. I'm not the anchor. The anchor is Davido, but I'm probably the most recognized one.
So does that mean you take on a sort of a leadership role?
Not really. In our team, we are working together. We don't really have one person, one captain. We're trying to make decisions all together, all for person.
Okay.
Not really me or not really Anchor Davido.
So why don't you talk me through your team and your teammates and what your individual roles are?
So we don't really have an individual rules, but when we play the game, when we played our match in AGG, one person is like tracking cards only, and 3 other persons are playing, because if 4 persons are playing at the same time, it's kind of too much. So we want to like talk only in 3 persons.
So you actually sort of like ban one player each game from playing?
Not really, because one player is tracking cards, and he's telling us what our opponent has played and what we have played. So it's also easier for us to focus on the game, just on the turns.
That's really interesting. Why don't you tell me a little bit about all of your teammates?
So Davido and Tutek are my current teammates. They're also playing for Illuminar Gaming. So like we're practicing every day. And Dogmeat is kind of a new person. I didn't really know him for a long time. But he's also doing fine. He's also a good player. So I think our chemistry in our team is really good.
Okay, that's really good to hear. You guys are having a lot of success with the Hearthstone Global Games this year. You're, what, 3-1 at the moment?
Yes, we are.
That's great. Is that something you expected coming into this tournament? Did you think that Poland were going to beat all of the other teams?
I mean, I think we got used to the format. We like the format, actually. I know that the format is criticized by a lot of players, but we don't agree with that. We have a strategy. We have a new strategy for every week, so that pays off.
Can you give me some sort of insight into your strategy in one of the previous weeks then? What can you tell me?
Yeah, sure. So I don't really want to say like everything for sure, but we're adjusting to our opponent. So when we know the bracket, when we know our opponent, we are looking at their decks, we are looking at their previous matches, their playstyle, and we are trying to make everything to be as good as possible against them.
Okay, so you guys do a lot of research between yourselves?
Yes. We are analyzing a lot. Also the pick and ban phase, also the queue order, we are analyzing everything.
So what example can you give me about one of your previous matches? What did you analyze and then use to win the game?
So for example, our next opponent, Chile, was playing literally 7 aggro decks last week.
Okay.
The only slow decks were Warrior and Priest, like Old Warrior and Control Priest. So we kind of built our decks anti-aggro this week, and we hope that they will not change much in their lineup. They shouldn't, but we'll see. And it actually paid off in the last matches. Like we also were favored against China. The only match we lost 2 favorable matchups. So I think our preparation is really good, and hopefully it will remain.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like it's working out so far. Okay, at the time of this interview, I haven't seen your deck lists yet. You only submitted them an hour ago. But what can you tell me about your lineup? What's sort of different from the norm?
There will be some spicy decks, you will see.
Oh.
But like, we also want to play good decks. Like it's not a good idea to play like terrible decks just to be good against our opponent, but we also want to play the tier 1, tier 2 decks. We have some tech cards also, and you might be surprised, especially in Shaman and Warlock. But you will see what we submitted.
All right, cool. Well, I will find out a little bit more about your deck lists later.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you a little bit more in a bit about your personal life, but for now, back to the studio. There you go. A83650, of course, one of the best players in the Hearthstone Global Games. Again, qualified for Worlds. Is he one that you've had your eye on for a while, Lorinda?
A little bit, not as much as some of the others we've mentioned before. Certainly got my eye on how he's doing now, though, and slightly before he qualified too. He was already having an okay year, but it wasn't like a Hunter race where I'm just going, yeah, told you so. But I think he's telling us he told us so now.
Well, we'll be showing the rest of that interview a little bit later, but for now, we're going to take a look at the schedule for the upcoming week of the Hearthstone Global Games. So starting with tomorrow's games. Taiwan versus Ukraine opening the show. Current world champion versus the runners-up from the Global Games last year. 4-0 versus 3-1, 2 solid teams. Followed by Belarus versus Indonesia, Brazil versus China, the Netherlands versus Singapore, and then Portugal versus Romania.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Belarus get on. We haven't seen that much of them live on stream this year, so good to have them on. And not as many off-stream games this time now that we're thinning out the field a little.
Yeah, Italy, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Switzerland, Belgium, Peru. That's it. And then I believe there's one on the Wednesday, and that is all of it. As we're starting to lose some of our favourite teams, it does mean that we're able to bring you almost all of the matches. I imagine next week we'll be able to show you everything.
Yeah, it's looking like that. I haven't worked it out exactly, but I think we will get either all or all but, let's say, one next week. And then from there onwards, you'll see every single team. You can see every single team anyway, of course, because you can check out YouTube 24 hours after the show, and your teams will be there, cast by various people and volunteers and such like.
Wednesday, we open the show with South Korea versus the United Kingdom, and then we have Bulgaria, Spain, Norway, the Russian Federation, Czech Republic, Germany, and finally Denmark versus the United States to decide which team stays in the tournament. And then off-stream, we have Chile versus Poland.
Yeah, so if you want to find A8's decks and his text, you're going to have to watch it on that YouTube I was talking about, I'm afraid. But again, Bulgaria, another team I'm looking forward to seeing because we haven't seen that much of them early on.
I think if you want to see the deck lists, actually, there should still be a working deck lists command. If you go exclamation mark deck list, there has been before. If not, it will be updated very, very soon, I have no doubt. There you go. See, I told you so. Let's take a look at Thursday's matches. 2 left this week. Canada versus Japan and then Thailand versus Vietnam.
Yeah, Canada, Japan, another one. Canada slowly but surely getting back into this event. They were struggling a bit early. I want to see how they get on because they've got 2 former World Championship players in their team. So see how they do this time.
And now let's take a look at what time the broadcast starts each day. You should be used to it by now. But there you go. There are the start times if you're in Central Europe. Then the start times if you're in Korea. And finally, get ready to screenshot if you're on the west coast of America. Is that right? West
That's
coast?
correct, yeah.
You told me that earlier during rehearsal.
I was like, where's that? I don't know where P is.
I knew it was in America somewhere. I just didn't know. There's a lot of time zones over there. Okay?
There's 4.
Haven't memorized them all. Just because you have...
Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific, right? From right to left.
All right, smarty pants. As usual, it's actually your chance to be a smarty pants now. If you're watching on Twitch, you can vote for which team is going to win between Taiwan and Ukraine. You know the drill by now. It's vote !Taiwan or vote !Ukraine.
Both easy enough to spell this time around as well, so no excuses if your team loses. They're just obviously not as popular as the other lot.
Speaking of no excuses, Lorinda, which team's going to win that one?
Which one's going to win that one? Ukraine.
Okay, so now Taiwan has an excuse if they lose, then...
It's not an excuse.
Because Twitch chat copy...
Ukraine have an excuse if they lose now.
Oh, sure. Because
no one's going to agree with me.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, now, for this little segment that we have upcoming, Lorinda has, after fighting with Derek all morning, he's been tearing his hair out for about the last 5 hours or so. Literally, he will vouch for me that's been...
I do hope they wasn't recording it as I sat in this seat doing numbers for 5 hours.
I mean, the best part for me was that when me and Derek were just, not in the studio, we heard Lorinda heading from the studio to the toilets, just muttering numbers to himself. I'm sure he'll be thrilled at me mentioning that here on stream. It was recording! There you go.
Oh my goodness.
You should know now that the production team are always recording us.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways.
Just dump that tape.
So we have an image that we want to look at. And setting the scene here, Lorinda, what's going on?
So this was Australia versus Peru last week, on the last day of last week. And basically, Australia have to decide what to do with their hand. I think it's safe to say they want to kill at least 1 minion off, but realistically, they'd like to kill them both. So their choices are to Arcane Missiles or Cinderstorm. Basically, the Frostbolt's a backup plan.
Sure.
But you want that for the Celestial Anomaly in a couple of turns' time, maybe. So basically, if you missiles, you only fail to kill one of the minions with your ping 15% of the time.
Oh, that sounds good.
So you kill at least one. Nearly always. With a Cinderstorm, you miss 29% of the time.
Ooh, that doesn't sound so good.
And that's a big number. That's like 3 times out of 10. You just don't kill either minion, and you've got no mana left, so you can't ping them.
Right.
With the missiles, because you can aim one of your missiles. It turns out you do better. There is a downside. Sort of 8% of the time you kill both with the Cinderstorm, but 30% if you're willing to use the Frostbolt as well.
Right.
You kill both. And you only keep your Frostbolt 55% of the time if you want to kill off a minion. So you do end up using your Frostbolt a lot, but you end up keeping it a lot for killing off 1 minion too. It's a bit garbled, but the short version is the Cinderstorm does miss remarkably often. Again, there's a lot to be said for keeping your Frostbolt back. But again, for me, only failing to kill a minion 15% of the time means that the Arcane Missiles and the ping is a good spot. Okay, you don't know which minion you're going to kill, but if you kill one, you can just keep your Frostbolt and kill the other one next turn, and I like it a lot more.
Well, should we see what Ginger Ninja decided to go with?
Let's have a look what he actually did and what happened.
Oh, that's the Cinderstorm.
That's the Cinderstorm, and this is what got me thinking. I wondered how unlucky they were here.
Ooh.
But it turns out, like I say, that's a 30% or 29% chance to happen. And look at the position they're in now. Your opponent's got 2 of the best minions in the whole game on the board. And it doesn't really matter what their hand is. They're just going to destroy you from this point onwards.
Ooh, so what you're saying, basically, conclusion, Cinderstorm wrong 100% of the time?
No, not concluding that. But just to show why I feel it is incorrect. If you take away one of those missiles on either minion,
yeah,
or you take away 2, so if it misses both, sure, all 3 go face, sure. But you get a ping on one of them so often, just to finish one of them off,
yeah,
that you're in a good spot. And sometimes it's 30% of the time you kill a minion with the missiles, and then you can frostbolt the other one and clear the entire board. That's, for me, what swings it. And then you've just got an empty board versus a mirror match, and you're in a great spot.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's nice to, because obviously we have these random effects in Hearthstone, or these controlled random effects. We have missiles, Cinderstorm. We've got to work out when is the right time to make these plays. Obviously, it's not something that the team had the time to maths out.
I mean, they've got time to do all this. Look, like, this is all just numbers. You probably can't see.
Yeah, there's like 7 pages of Lorinda drip.
Or you can use a computer, which I didn't have available at the desk.
Yeah.
Which would help.
Okay, well, while we take a moment for Lorinda to just hopefully calm down after a full day of maths, let's listen to the rest of the interview that I had with A83650. Okay, A8, tell me how you balance your personal life with Hearthstone, because you're preparing for playoffs, you're going to tour stops, you're doing the grind. How do you fit all of this in?
Okay, so I actually had a problem with that because I needed to break my study. But now, beginning with October, I'll try to combine studying and playing professionally, and I hope I can do it well. But yeah, like it's gonna be hard for sure. But I'm a good person when it comes to organize something, so I hope I can manage to do that.
What are you studying?
I actually was studying something like connected with politics and geography.
Okay.
And yeah, because that actually is my hobby basically. So I want to study something that it's interesting for me. I think that's like important to study something that I like and not like to force myself.
Right, but that means as well as balancing Hearthstone and all of your personal stuff, you're also going to be balancing studying. Do you think that's going to be difficult?
Of course it's going to be difficult, but I don't think it's going to be impossible. Many of the good players are combining studying with playing, and they're doing great, and I hope I can do it as well.
It is amazing to me sort of how hard some of you Hearthstone players work. You're able to do all sorts at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
In terms of just preparation for Hearthstone, though, is it difficult? For example, this week, you're preparing for playoffs and also doing Hearthstone Global Games. Do you think that affects your play?
I don't really think that affects my play. It might affect my preparation, but I'll be playing as good as possible. I know that because I can handle the pressure really well already. I managed to do that while playing like high-stakes matches in last playoffs or championships.
Yep.
But I might be a little bit less prepared than usual. We'll see.
But for Hearthstone Global Games at least, you have a team behind you that you trust, right?
Yes, of course, they're supporting.
Are they able to do a good job of sort of almost picking up the slack for when you're not available?
Yeah, of course. I can trust them, and as I said already, we are really supporting each other and we are working together. So even if I'm not like available, or me or Davido, because we are both playing in playoffs next week, then Tutek and Dogmeat might prepare like more for us, and they might like do the things we are doing.
How does the preparation work within the team? So do you each practice different decks? Do you play together? What's the strategy there?
We are usually analyzing the matchups on HSOPL, for example, and we are watching our opponent's game and our opponent's strategy. So we are trying to like build decks, like of course good decks, but we are trying to be good against our opponents. Right? Like preparation for every week is different. It's not like there's one good strategy that works against everyone.
Yep.
It's not really like that.
It's funny because a lot of the teams do seem as though they just go with the, we're just going to play the best 9 decks each week strategy. But it sounds like you guys strongly disagree with that.
So if somebody is going to play like 9 best decks, we're certainly going to counter them. So be aware.
That's good to hear. Right, you guys are up against Chile this week. How are you feeling at the moment about the game?
We are feeling actually good against Chile. We think we prepared well against them. We didn't really want to face any European team, and the luck was on our side this time. So hopefully we'll secure our spot in top 16 this week and not have to play the last one, the last round next week. So like we really hope to win this match in 2 days, and just to be safe, to have a spot in top 16.
So you guys are just one step away from top 16. Are you thinking BlizzCon?
And we have 2 chances for top 16. I really want to come back to LA for the second time this year. I really enjoyed time spent there, so I hope we can manage to get into the top 8. But it's gonna be certainly hard because everyone's goal is to get to the top 8, and everyone wants to achieve that. So yeah,
and
we just have to beat our opponents.
Well, yep, that's the general idea. Final question for you, A8. Can Team Poland win the whole tournament?
Yes, of course. We are strong. We are ready to win the whole tournament.
Of course. Thank you so much for chatting with me this morning, A8.
Thank you so much as well.
Back to the studio. I really find their preparation strategy interesting, Lorinda. It's the thing that really struck out to me the most, because they're not just going, yep, 9 best decks, go.
Yep.
They're actually going, right, this is what our opponents do most of the time. Let's beat them at their own game.
Seems good to me, and it's working for him in solo play as well. I really like listening to A8 speak because he's got a good mix of sort of being humble, but not being too humble. He will, 1 or 2 times you're like, is it difficult? It's like, of course it's difficult. If you want to get to be one of the best players in the world, of course it's. But the rest of the time, he enjoys the game. He sort of looks after the game, but he's not scared to fight back when needed as well. So I like that combination of how he came across in that interview.
He did also say to me that we should look out for their teams. I think he said Warrior and Shaman. Maybe Warlock.
Warlock, I think he said, yeah.
Oh, it was Warlock and Shaman. Yeah, so apparently they're going to... When he mentioned that there's a little bit of spice in their deck list, that's what we...
Bit of spice in how he worded that he didn't mind playing Chile as well. He's like, well, I didn't want to play in a European team, brackets, because they're good, close bracket. Putting words into his mouth there.
Well, there you go. Anyways, let's take a look at the results. You have voted at home between Taiwan and Ukraine, and you have decided that Ukraine will win tomorrow's game. See, I knew you skewed it.
It's just Neville on the copy-paste.
Probably. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's no real surprise. Ukraine are just consistently incredible at the Hearthstone Global Games. They've yet to drop a series this year. And Taiwan, they are good. They do have the world champion.
Yeah, that's a pretty good position to be in. But like Neville made the point last week, he really wanted to make the point because it wasn't the question he was asked. But yeah, they've beaten the Czech Republic twice now out of 3. They just lost the one that mattered.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, we only have a few bits left to do today, but next up is something that we should have mentioned before, and we didn't mention much last week at all, and that is, of course, the caster predictions. We got little faded out flags there as some of the teams have been eliminated.
This is how we're teaching Dan flags.
This is. I've memorized the caster picks, and so I've learned these flags. Wait, what's the top left one, though?
That's Gaskin.
No, I mean his flag. I don't
know what that is.
Anyways, let's take a look at our scores. That's the good bit, right, Lorinda?
Yeah, that's the great bit. I love it. I love it.
2 and 5.
Yep, propping up the show, just like I do every week.
Gaskin's score is really impressive, though, with only one, as his teams are Ukraine and the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom's only lost 1 series.
But it's who wins in the end that matters always, as Sotter will probably tell you, and it's going to be Norway still. So I'm still confident, but like you say, Gaskin's picks are doing phenomenally well. Well done to Gaskin.
You know, I'd say that Derek and Falcone... Oh, wait, I'm Falcone. Derek and Raven and me are doing... I'm just reading names now. Derek and Raven and me are doing a pretty good job as well.
Predicting things, yeah.
Yeah, predicting things. And at casting.
So, anyway, moving swiftly on to whatever the next segment is that I'll let Dan look at, because I don't know.
The last part of the week, it's your favourite part. It's my least favourite part.
Where we get trolled.
It's the viewer Q&A. I'm kidding, I love it, really. It's the viewer Q&A. So, production team, Gaskin, Derek, in the studio, hit us with the first question. Okay, I actually know the answer to this one.
Okay. Well, you go first.
And
I know mine.
I think yours is going to be different to mine.
It is.
So my least favourite meta was just before Whispers of the Old Gods came out. And the reason for that is that I think it's the longest we've ever gone without an expansion. There was a big 5-month gap. And even then, League of Explorers was just an adventure. It was only had like 30 cards to the game. So actually the time since the last 100-card expansion was like 8 months or something, 10 months even. That's a real long time to not get a big injection of cards. It was before we'd introduced standard format. We had this meta for a really long time of Zoo, Secret Paladin, Handlock, and Patron, maybe? Combo Druid, sorry, that's the other obvious one. And for me, there was nothing wrong with the meta itself, but it was such a long time without anything new.
There were two that I didn't enjoy, if I'm honest. The end of Shaman Stone. I was bad at mid-range Shaman, which was not a good deck to be bad at when it's like 60% ladder. And oddly enough, the start of... I currently love this meta. Yep. But when this meta was developing, when it was Taunt Druid versus Taunt Druid all the time, I didn't enjoy that particularly much. Really? Just watching 1/5s crash into each other. I didn't enjoy playing that much, but I enjoyed watching it because it was very intricate. But now I think we've got a much better balance.
I like my answer to that question because it's such a positive spin. You know, it's like
I just tell the truth.
I didn't like it back when expansions were few and far between, and we were just sort of finding our feet. But now we've got standard, we've got a format. It's great, and the last few metas, for me at least, have been really, really good.
I agree. There was just that sort of, I don't know, a week and a half in the middle of Taunt Druid Stone that.
Yeah. I mean, universally, the pro players are all agreeing that the last meta, the meta we had before this expansion was great.
Yeah, this one's great.
This one's not too different. So we've just got a little bit of spice from the new cards. Let's take a look at the next question we've got. Bullseye Troll. Will any team with 3 losses still get a chance to qualify? Nope.
When you lose 3, you are out of Hearthstone Global Games by rule. There's no tiebreaker. There's nothing. You just don't get to turn up next week.
Go home. I mean, you're probably playing from home, but stay home. Don't go to BlizzCon.
That being said, now I think about it, actually, when you get to the last week, if all the down floats lose, I'm not going to nail to that one. When you get to the last week and they're 3-2, if all the teams that down float lose, I'm not going to nail it till I've done the maths. So
Lorinda's got more maths to do.
If it goes 3-2, 3-2, and they're winning the down floats, the 4-1s lose to the 3-2s lose to the 4-1s, the 4-1s lose to the 5-0s, maybe there's a chance.
Okay, to simplify things, no. The answer is no, okay? Okay, next question.
What's it like as a caster to get sapped? You get used to it, pretty much.
The answer is just don't look at Twitch chat, really, isn't it?
I don't know. I look at Twitch chat all the time. I love it.
What are we doing right now?
We're getting sapped.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I've never physically been sapped from a Hearthstone cast
Have you not?
before. Like, I've not had someone come in with a hook or something and yank me off. It's not happened.
I mean, whatever happens, happens.
Let's take a look at the next question. Oh, from Chino is there. If you could change your caster pick, who would you choose instead?
Did anybody pick Belgium?
No.
No, I don't think they should.
I mean, China are doing pretty good, right?
I wouldn't change my pick.
I mean, I wouldn't want to either. You're just baiting me out to insult my teams here. My picks are very good, but Ukraine's been taken. China hasn't been taken. China's doing well. Brazil hasn't been taken. Brazil's doing well. I'd be happy with one of the teams that's 5-0.
Yeah, I think that Norway's going to win, so I wouldn't change that pick. And I'm always going to support the Philippines. So even though they're out, I still wouldn't change that pick either.
APAC Dad.
Yeah,
right.
That's me.
Do we have another question, production team? Oh.
Which decks are the most fun to cast besides Odd Warrior Mirrors? Let me have a think.
Help!
The most fun to cast gets absolutely sapped. I mean, Shudderwock's fun to cast, but it's messy because casters do make a mistake on it. Same with Quest Rogue, that can actually be fun to cast if it's a close match. But I think Malygos Druid is the most fun because there's so many different ways they can win. Did you see any of that?
I can't answer that question. I got sapped.
So yeah, that's my answer.
Do we have any more questions, production?
How many gloops could a Flabidinous Floop gloop if a Flabidinous Floop could floop gloop?
How many gloops could a Flabidinous Floop gloop if a Flabidinous Floop could floop gloop? How many gloops could a Flabidinous Floop gloop if a No, I can't do it.
I mean, that was a pretty good effort, to be fair.
Is that how you want us to answer the question, by just repeating it over and over again?
Presumably.
Can we see the question again, please, production team?
How many flutes could a forbiddenous flute gloop if a forbiddenous flute could flute gloops?
How many gloops could a forbiddenous flute gloop if a forbiddenous flute could flute gloop? How many gloops could a forbiddenous flute gloop if a forbidden... It's the second forbiddenness that gets me.
I mean, I can't say it and there's no R's in the whole sentence, so I don't even know how that's a fail for me.
Is that how it works? Like, if a sentence doesn't have R in it, you can just say it perfectly?
I should be fine, yeah.
Okay, well...
That one didn't, I didn't, so it didn't happen.
That wraps
Thanks,
up
guys.
viewer Q&A. Thank you, everyone whose questions got answered. Sorry for those that we couldn't get to. Try again next week. But from Lorinda and myself, we hope you've enjoyed the show, and we will be back at 10 a.m. CEST tomorrow. See you then.